I'll send it right back to Dennis. Scott Morrow is being recalled from the AHL for the Canes. Riley Stillman being assigned down to the Chicago squad in the AHL. What does this mean? What is Scott Morrow now getting? Is this his look, or is they need warm bodies defensemen that are ready to step in and play?
This to me tells me a couple things. First of all, you don't call up Scott Morrow, one of your top prospects from the American Hockey League, just to sit him in the press box, just to be the seventh guy. They're like, hey, if we need a guy, we'll put you in, but otherwise you'll sit up in the press box. That's what Ty Smith and Riley Stillman were for in that regard. So my guess is you don't call this guy up unless you're going to play him. Either there are a couple guys that are hurt, which in that case, why do you also send Stillman down? They making a move?
Interesting.
They making a move?
Because one of the benefits of having Scott Morrow and the expected eventual maneuvering of Alexander Nikishin over from the KHA in Russia to the NHL is you've got a lot of defensemen and you have two that definitely, like Scott Morrow and Nikishin, seem to be the type of cost-controlled assets that you need to have if you're going to be spending the type of money that we think they're going to be spending. So does that make somebody, if you think they're prepared to play in the NHL, does that make somebody expendable? We know that there are, I don't even want to say we know that there are. Eric Tulsky has proven he's not afraid to make a move.
Oh, yeah.
Wheel and deal in Eric Tulsky.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting because if this were somebody sick, you need a game. If this were somebody's got a boo-boo or an ouchie, Riley Stillman, you think would be able to handle that.
Yeah, reason why he's been there.
Scott Morrow seems like a guy that if he's going to get a chance, you're maybe seeing if you do trust him for a longer period of time, or you're saying he's ready. Right, the preheating of the oven, it beeped. Right, it's time to go, and now it's time. You can trade someone else away. Now, Dennis, my journalism hat is ringing. I have to ask this: if Morrow's coming up, who's the one that's expendable? Who's the one that could be on the way out?
That's what I was trying to wrap my head around. Is that too? Because
in inferring, like reading tea leaves, obviously we just learned this news about Morrow. We don't have insider information, at least not yet.
That's a tough one to say. He's a right-handed defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is it Orlov that's on the move? Jalen Chatfield can play on his offside as a right-handed defenseman. He can play on the left. I mean, is it Orlov that gets on the move, which is a high price tag? I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes could retain some of that salary if they wanted to. I don't know if it's him because, remember, Dmitry Orlov sat next to Rob Brind'amour for a chunk of the latter part of that game on Saturday against the LA Kings. I don't know if it's that. I mean, Brent Burns is in the final year of his contract. I don't know if that's someone you move and, hey, let's slide a rookie into that situation. I don't know because we see Rob Brind'amour playing Brent Burns a lot late in games, whether you agree with it or not. I don't know. The AHL All-Star game was set to take place, like their skills competition, all that stuff was this week. And they pulled him from that to call him up. I don't know. I highly doubt it was hey, let's protect this guy. I highly doubt it was one of those kinds of situations. But to me, you don't call this guy up unless you intend to play him.
Here's what I can pass along is, again, we're just reading tea leaves here. Walt Ruff, team reporter, about practice today before they traveled. The power play 1 unit was Aho, Blake, Jarvis, Rantanen, and Burns.
And Burns, yeah.
So I'd be very surprised if Burns is the one they're considering moving that quickly if Morrow's coming up here like for something bang in the next couple of days.
Unless you're planning on, you can slide Sean Walker in there or put Gostisbehere back up there.
You very easily could, but it's just, if that's what you were planning, it seems like Gostisbehere would just fit in nicely there.
Yeah.
Secondly, the thing I'll say is Blake's getting a lot of opportunities, right? He's skating top line. He's, as I just mentioned, power play 1, at least at practice this morning. It does seem like the Canes are starting to trust the young guys maybe a little bit more. And if Morrow slides in and plays solid defense, I'm just going to let you know where my imagination is running. If Orlov is on the way out, that feels big, right? Because of his salary. And he could be somebody you send out with picks or prospects or something to make a splash. Now, obviously, I'm thinking content here, right? This is, do you somebody's on your fantasy team and you're hoping that Ben Johnson, the best offensive coordinator, becomes his head coach. It's like, are you thinking that's actually what's going to happen, or are you just wishful thinking? I don't know which one's happening right now, but my mind is racing. And it wasn't that way until Dennis said, Scott Morrow is being called up. Could there be a move being made? Because it also could just be, somebody needs a breather. It'd be weird if they brought up Scott Morrow for that.
Yeah,
But it could be.
It very well could be, because, again, there might be a defenseman that's battling something and they know this person's going to play and get some top minutes. Maybe that is the situation, and that's what they're doing. Maybe they trust him. Hey, we'll probably trust him to play 16, 17, 18 minutes for a couple games as opposed to Riley Stillman. That might be the situation. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But when we saw the Carolina Hurricanes have to go 11 forwards and 7 defensemen just a few games ago, Stillman played 7 minutes and change, and it was perfectly fine, and the Canes won easily. So, to me, you don't bring Scott Morrow up, one of your top young prospects, if you're just going to sit him.
And to be clear, there's no game today. The game would be tomorrow at Winnipeg. It's a later game, 8 p.m., so we'll have to wait a little bit to see what everybody is what their role is going to be. But it is a fascinating situation. There are like 4 names that for some reason and not for some reason, for good reason, they're legit prospects. Bradley Nadeau, Scott Morrow. It was Jackson Blake, but Felix Unger-Sorum is in that mix, and then Nikishin's almost in his own category coming from overseas. But those players seem to be the foundation of something for the Canes. And if they're being moved, if there's something happening there, first of all, it would seem intentional, right? You don't get backed into making a move with those players. You do what's best for their development, and you do what you think they're ready for. And also it could be the natural progression of how they see this roster developing, right? The best rosters in any sport, any professional sport, are a beautiful mixture of homegrown talent, draft and develop, and players acquired through things like free agency and trades. And if you look at the way this roster is built, they're like one big move away from being, I think, that really nice mixture. And I just feel like you have to say it out loud. Goalie? Question mark? Just saying it one time so it's on record that I said it in case something crazy happens. Goalie? Question mark.